Week 1 of English 130. So this video is the same as what's printed up in your announcement, but I find that sometimes it helps to have a friendly face explaining everything, and sometimes it's easier to understand when you hear it versus when you read it. And sometimes it's helpful to hear it and then also read it. So hopefully these videos help you feel a little bit more connected to your instructor. That's me, Professor Hull. And hopefully they help to explain each week's assignments and what's required of you. So first, I recommend looking at the introduction to the module. It explains everything that you're going to be learning this week. Each introduction to the modules, that's what they do. They show you what the learning goals are, what the outcomes are, and what they basically want you to learn from each module. Then, the most important thing I can tell you is to carefully read the guidelines and the grading rubrics for your assignments before, during, and after completing this week's assignments and future assignments as well. I have to grade you using their rubrics, and they ask for very specific things. So if you leave one thing out, I can't give you points, and those seemingly kind of small mistakes can cause big problems with your grade. The good news is that for each module, you do have a student exemplar in the assignment itself. So that's an example of student work from like a previous section on readings that you don't have. You can always see what your work should look like and what's expected of you. For most assignments, you also have a template that you can follow and fill out. So they've tried to make things a bit easier for you that way as well. These are tools that I really recommend downloading them every time. Go into the rubric. There's a whole section just on assignment information. You can see all the rubrics for all of the assignments. You can print those out, highlight to make sure you know what you have to do. And you can download the student exemplars and the templates from there as well. Where to find your readings. So your textbook chapters are going to be right in each module, as well as your reading selections. In module 1, that's a page entitled Resources Using Critical Reading Strategies. Make sure to download all 3 articles. I recommend printing at least the one that you choose to write about, so you have easy access to it throughout the course. And I cannot stress this enough. This is my second big tip here. Make sure that you read all 3 of the articles before you make a decision on which one you want to write about. A lot of people who take this class get extremely tired and annoyed with the reading that they chose. It'll probably happen to you at some point. You look at the article and then you look at it again, and then you re-examine it, and then you write about it, and then you re-examine it again. We're looking at the same article for 8 weeks, so try to choose one that interests you the most. That's my recommendation there. So this week, what are the rubrics asking for? Our first thing is an opening discussion. This is fairly painless. Introduce yourself, write a post of at least 2 paragraphs. I recommend writing 1 paragraph for question 2 and then another for question 3. Respond thoughtfully to at least 2 other posts from your peers. Please note that the weeks we have discussion, your initial posts are due by the end of the day on Thursday. Responses and other assignments are always due Sunday by 11:59 p.m., so the end of the day, Sunday. We don't have discussions every week. I think our discussions are weeks 1, 3, 6, and 8. So when we do have discussions, it's important to get your discussion in on Thursday, because otherwise the forum is empty and nobody can respond to anything. And also remember to make your responses, because again, it's about half of your grade for those discussions. And I've seen a lot of people miss points that they really didn't have to, just because they didn't like put an alarm on their phone and remember to go in and do the responses. Your 1-2 reading response. That's your other assignment for this week. You're going to review the 3 readings that I just talked about. You're going to choose one of them. And then there are 8 questions that they're posing to you about the reading. You're going to write probably 2 to 3 sentences for each question. For this assignment, again, there is a template for you. So you're going to be numbering your answers, filling out that template, that kind of thing. Be sure to have the details you need in your answers, and also please run a spelling and grammar check before turning in your assignment. You're graded on grammar, spelling, communication, all of that kind of the clarity of what you're saying. You're graded on that in every assignment. So take the 30 seconds or the minute and a half to run a spelling and grammar check. So those are basically your 2 assignments for this week. Before we end for today, some class policies. This video is a little longer than the other ones will be. Class policies. Please note that since this is an English course, all of your assignments have to be written and submitted as Word documents or PDFs. Unlike some of your other classes, you cannot submit assignments as videos or other forms of media. This includes discussion forums. You have to have everything written because it's a class focusing on written communication, right? Then any type of plagiarism will not be tolerated. This includes, but is not limited to, things like buying papers, using AI programs like ChatGPT, using work you completed for another course, or for this course, if it's your second time taking it, you need to pick a different article than you picked the last time. Copying and pasting work from a website or other source using cheating websites like Course Hero, that kind of thing, or study.com, or whatever the case may be. None of that is allowed, and I do have to report you if you do that, so please don't. When it comes to accidental plagiarism, that's a whole other thing. We'll talk about that later, and we'll talk about how to cite your sources, and that'll be part of what you learn. But the other forms of plagiarism are not allowed in this course. Last, late work carries a 10% penalty as per SNHU policy and the policy for this course. It can only be done up to 1 week late. This means, for example, you cannot turn in like modules 2 through 4 in the middle of module 5. That's just not going to work. Late penalties add up, so do your work on time. None of your assignments are more than 2 pages, and even that comes like a little bit later in the term. So it really won't be as difficult as you think. The biggest thing is just, setting a schedule, making sure that you get everything in on time by Sunday at the end of the day, or by Thursday if it's a discussion post. So that's it. Try to set aside a few days, a few times over a couple of days for this course. There's a little bit of reading to do. Nothing's too long, but just there is a lot of it, right, through your textbook and the readings, especially this week. Then later this week, every week, midweek, I'll always send out resources to help you out with your assignments. This time, it's going to be some things about historical context, purpose, core ideas. So that's it. If you have any questions or concerns, just let me know. My email is right there in the announcement. Have a great week, everyone. I look forward to seeing your work and to getting to know you in our discussion forums.